Hello everyone, welcome to IJustWatched. I'm Joseph, and we're talking Enola Holmes 2. But before we get into it, I gotta hit you with the usual, which is hopefully you like this enough to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the little bell to get notified. Spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, it's been on Netflix for a little bit. I genuinely thought that I dropped a video for Enola Holmes, the first one, and I didn't, so that's my fault. I probably recorded it and then in some idiocracy deleted it or clearly just never posted it, so I apologize. But quick rundown. I actually really liked the first one. I enjoyed the story. I'm a fan of Millie Bobby Brown. I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill. And I don't know his name, but I always remember him as Hunger Games with the Trident. I always liked his character. And he's, of course, Mycroft. But I really enjoyed the first one. I liked the premise, I liked the idea, I liked what it was building. That being said, jumping to 2, I actually liked it. It caught my attention really quickly. And one thing I like about both movies is the fourth wall breaks. Because, of course, nowadays you see them everywhere. But they've been done forever. It's nothing brand new. Some of them recently only use the fourth wall breaks to make dumb jokes or to try to have an aha moment in the middle of a situation or an I told you so moment. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it worked great, but for the most part, as of recently, it hasn't for me. So watching this, it was kind of refreshing because I like it. I mean, she does have a couple moments where she kind of looks at the camera like, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. I like the use of the fourth wall breaks. I feel like they're kind of smarter than most, at least recently. So I knew after watching the first one that a sequel was coming. I didn't know Professor Lupin was going to be in it. I just remember him being an ass. And of course he was one of the villains, or, the main henchman, so to speak, of the villain. Also, is his cane a gun? Is that what he was shooting? I was trying to spot it when he was on the horse, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's his cane that he's blasting with. So I just thought that was neat and funny, especially for the time, because as of right now, I don't remember the first one either, having any kind of that level of technology, so it still felt very accurate to the era until this. Unless I am completely off and they had cane guns back in the day and then I just learned something. So I could be wrong. Let me know down below. Did they have cane guns back in the day? If they did, my bad. One of my favorite things in the sequel is the bond that they start to build on and really get into between Sherlock and Enola. Because they tease it in the first one, and they're setting it up, of course, in the first one, that he ends up taking over and he, asks it, let her be my ward. And because they're extremely similar, not just the way they think, but how they behave and their purpose. So I really like that. I like the idea that they're separate investigations intertwined more, because in the first one, technically, he was working on it too, but not until he found out she was in trouble. Where this one, there's two separate cases that have been intertwined. So I really enjoyed that. I really like seeing the chemistry between them two. And one of my favorite things from the first one is when he's walking by and he's like, don't be ridiculous, and just keeps walking past the policeman and all that. I thought that was hilarious. I was glad they brought it back here when he just walks by and he's like, don't be ridiculous. Little things like that were funny. I like seeing the back and forth between their extremely super observant, I see everything minds. So that was great. And just the world building. Of course, I figured Sherlock was dealing for the first time with Moriarty when we start getting just a little bit of what he was doing. I expected Enola to have her own Moriarty. I didn't expect it to be Moriarty for both of them. But I did like the idea that it was that lady. I definitely did think she was a villain or the villain when she talks to her at the ball. She's like, you'll learn. And she's like kind of schooling her and being super nice and stuff and gives her the fan. I was like, nah, that's a little sus. But I didn't expect her to be Moriarty. So I thought that was kind of neat. And I definitely expected Enola to have her own nemesis, because it definitely feels like we're going to get a third. It also kind of feels like we're going to set up a Sherlock spinoff, but it would be interesting to move forward. And my reason behind that, for one, obviously, Moriarty escapes. And then the Thursday at 4 p.m. was Dr. Watson himself, which is funny because they were talking about Thursday at 4, we'll get together and, we're not working together, but we'll get together and be in each other's lives. And at Thursday at 4, he opens, and as soon as he saw the dude, I was like, oh, that's Dr. Watson. There's no question. So I thought it was cool that she was like, don't be alone. Like, no matter what, I don't want you to be alone. So I like that. I like the emotional build that they're doing for these two characters who are extremely logical and, kind of put their emotions to the side. I mean, at least I know that's how Sherlock has always been, being a new person to Enola. I don't even know if Enola's in the books or if the first movie and this are like the first time she's ever been brought to life, or is like that the first time, that she was ever created. I don't know. The only issue I really had with the sequel is every time they would cut to the sketchbook or the pages and stuff to kind of give you just more exposition or visuals. I understand that was her way. I understood it. I just wasn't a fan of continuously cutting to it and seeing it. That kind of just, it's not a huge thing, so it's not that big of a deal that made me hate the movie or anything. But it was just one thing, or the biggest thing that I just wasn't a fan of in the sequel. It reminded me of The Get Down Part 2. I thought cutting to the comic book strips and stuff was annoying, especially because what they were cutting to, I would have loved to seen happen. So it's kind of one of those. Doesn't make me love the show or movie any less. It was just something that I could have done happily without. And lastly, I had never heard of Sarah Chapman. I wrote her name down, and at the same time saying that, I didn't know that that was, a real person until the end of the movie when she, they do the walkout and protest was based on a real Sarah Chapman who was the first woman. And it was like, they said it was the first time a woman stood up for women's right in the workplace. I was like, oh shit, that's cool. I had no idea that's what it was setting up. So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was cool that they actually added some real history into the grander picture of the movie. And the second thing I kind of my little issue in that situation was she gives this, of course it's a beautiful speech and no one does anything. And then one starts stomping, they all start stomping, and then they leave. I understand the subtle action behind the stomp and then someone else stomps, and it was like the first domino, thus having them leave. But I would have preferred it more towards the speech, because the speech to me was pretty good. It was a speech versus, oh damn, fuck, we're leaving. They don't want to let them suffer, deuces, and then you just hear the stomping from her little sister. It was alright. I thought the moment could have been better, but at the end of the day, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I want to hear your thoughts. How do you feel about the first one? My bad on not dropping anything for the first one. I really thought I did, so that's on me. But I really liked the first one. I really enjoyed the second one. I think they're on par, and I'm excited to see where they go. Are we going to get a third? Are we going to get a spinoff with just Sherlock? I mean, it wouldn't be just, but focused more on him and Watson. But I'd love to hear from y'all down below, comment section. Let me know your thoughts on this. How do you feel about it? Do you care? Do you enjoy them? What is your favorite Sherlock rendition ever? I definitely want to hear that. But until next time, stay safe, be well, y con mucho amor. Adios.